are found posts and streaming live in HD worldwide at foxbangor.com. More people choose Good Morning Maine.
Today on Good Morning Maine, we'll hear about an effort by the city of Bangor to purchase the troubled Bangor Mall.
Plus, union workers from Bangor are upset that they aren't getting the same time off as other city workers.
And a beloved restaurant in Bucksport announces it's closing after decades in business. Good morning and welcome to Good Morning Maine. I'm Emma Smith.
And I'm Craig Colson. Thank you for joining us. We'll have those stories and a lot more coming up, a lot to tell you about over the next hour. But first, to check that forecast, it's going to be a beautiful day too. It's going to be mostly sunny skies.
I know,
temperatures
right?
getting up near 60 degrees. Everything is going to be perfect today.
It's going to be awesome.
All our dreams are going to come true.
Yeah, I mean, that's how I feel these days when the sun comes out.
Right?
Literally,
Yeah.
That's like, oh, okay, it's all fine again.
It's all good. It's all good.
As I stare into the sun.
Right, right.
Okay, let's get a look at the forecast with Devin Biggs.
Hey, Craig and Emma, thank you very much. Happy Wednesday. We do have low temperatures that have not been too bad this morning. 30s across parts of Washington County, and same with Rockland. Most other spots have fallen into the 20s this morning. Otherwise, a tiny area north of Bangor under a flood warning that will expire later on this morning. Small craft advisory also up until 8 o'clock Thursday evening. It has been extended again as wave heights continue to remain active. Small areas under some fog this morning near Bar Harbor, down to under 2 miles, but everyone else looking pretty good as we do start things off. Otherwise, again, radar and satellite rather quiet out there. It will be a very nice day, very spring-like today with a lot of sunshine and temperatures in the 50s. Let's zoom things out. There is some activity over the Atlantic Ocean and further off towards the north and west. We'll be in that happy middle today as we'll see some clouds further off to the north, but otherwise a lot of sunshine. We'll be watching for clouds and even some fog on the way coming up later on tonight. Otherwise, the winds, maybe a quick gust up to 15 miles per hour today, and that's about it. No issue tonight with the gusty winds at all. Maybe a quick gust up to 15 to 20 miles per hour as we head towards your Thursday. Hourly forecast for the rest of the morning and afternoon period showing temperatures very spring-like, warming up into the upper 50s today with plenty of sunshine, maybe a few passing clouds. Your full 5-day forecast is coming up. Craig and Emma?
Thank you, Devin. It looks like a beautiful day. Well, first thing this morning, tankers had to haul in water from surrounding areas to put out a stubborn fire Tuesday morning in Winterport. First responders were called to 1492 North Main Street a little before 8:30 yesterday morning for a reported structure fire, which was a distance away from direct hydrant access. Water from surrounding hydrants was dumped into pools on scene. Crew members expressed concern that oxygen tanks still inside the mobile home posed the risk of explosion, but that issue was resolved. No word yet on if anyone was injured. Despite mutual aid efforts, the building appears to be a total loss.
Meanwhile, the money stolen from the MDI regional school system by cyber scammers has now been recovered. More than $1 million was taken in all. It was intended for a construction project at the Connors Emerson School in Bar Harbor. The funds were diverted, though, by mistake to a fraudulent bank account after the school district fell victim to a scam and complied with a fraudulent request to change banking accounts. Superintendent Mike Zabore sent a letter to the community yesterday saying all of that money has been successfully recovered and is now pending return to Bar Harbor Banking and Trust. He says the district is doing a thorough review of its financial procedures in collaboration with its cybersecurity team. Zabore says the FBI will continue to investigate and hopefully bring the individuals who perpetrated that crime to justice.
A man is facing multiple charges after an alleged stabbing in Lubec. A little after 10 p.m. on March 15th, the Washington County Regional Communications Center received a 911 call reporting an assault with a knife at a residence on Pleasant Street in Lubec. Washington County Sheriff Barry Curtis says that when deputies arrived, they found a 51-year-old man with multiple stab wounds and lacerations. He was taken to the hospital with severe but non-life-threatening injuries. Curtis says the victim told deputies that Kenneth Kudrick was the alleged suspect. According to Curtis, deputies immediately began looking for Kudrick and discovered he was currently on 8 sets of bail conditions in Androscoggin County. On March 16th, deputies returned to Pleasant Street for a fully involved structure fire at the residence where the alleged assault occurred the night before. They found Kudrick walking on Water Street shortly before 3 p.m. Kudrick has been arraigned for elevated aggravated assault, reckless conduct with a dangerous weapon, and violation of conditions of release. He's being held on $5,000 cash bail. Curtis says the investigation is ongoing and more charges are likely.
Well, the trial for a Pittston man charged with stalking the Kennebec County Sheriff got underway yesterday. 37-year-old Nicholas Worthing is accused of sending threatening messages to Kennebec County Sheriff Ken Mason over several years. 2 more serious stalking charges against Worthing were dropped, and the case was moved to Somerset County. Both sides presented their testimony yesterday. It focused on proof of who wrote the messages, whether the sheriff feared Worthing, and Worthing's state of mind at the time. The judge requested the attorneys to present written closing arguments within the next 2 weeks.
Senator Angus King is demanding that the U.S. Department of Agriculture reverse its decision to cancel local food purchases from Maine schools, food banks, and child care centers. In a letter to USDA Secretary Brooke Rollins from King and a number of his colleagues, the senator said the reported $1 billion in canceled purchases adds further pain at a time of high food prices and instability within U.S. agricultural markets. A statement from Senator King's office says in our state, it puts more than $1.3 million worth of local food purchases for food insecure Maine people at risk in fiscal year 2025.
The Belfast City Council has voted to limit the size of cruise ships that can visit the city. The council voted Tuesday to amend an ordinance that will ban any ship that carries 50 or more passengers from bringing those people to the city landing or other marine facilities. According to the Bangor Daily, it's part of an ongoing effort to limit the number of passengers to help ease congestion in coastal communities. That includes Bar Harbor, which recently rejected a call to expand the number of passenger visits and to loosen regulations on cruise ship arrivals there.
A new bill in the legislature seeks to allow Bangor to purchase the Bangor Mall either through negotiation or the use of eminent domain. The proposed legislation comes after multiple rounds of legal wrangling with the property owner. Our Augusta reporter Corey Bouchard has the details.
This is an area that's an eyesore and that is deteriorating at a rapid pace.
Senator Joe Baldacci is talking about his bill that would allow Maine Housing or another appropriate state entity to enter into purchase negotiations with Namdar Group, the current owners of the Bangor Mall. The bill also states that if a fair purchase price could not be negotiated, it would allow the city to acquire the property through eminent domain. One of the main reasons for acquiring the property is due to its current state of disrepair, including the devaluation from a peak of around $100 million to just around $13 million.
The city has 2 lawsuits against them for a number of code violations. There was a sewer pipe that was leaking human waste into a water source. I mean, there's a number, multiple different things, but it's an economic waste for all of us, and I'm hoping that we can raise the profile of the issue, that we can have a hearing here and also try to encourage both the community and the state maybe to work together to ultimately find a solution.
Part of the plan will be to create 35 affordable housing apartments within the mall, as well as keeping many of the current businesses.
But it can be kept as, it's always been my purpose to keep it as a mixed use, because there are certain commercial uses of it that shouldn't be changed as long as there are ongoing concerns. But the structure, the actual physical structure of the mall needs to be repaired.
Maine Housing opposed the bill, saying this type of project should start at the local level instead of with the state.
I guess the context I'd like to bring up is that Maine Housing doesn't own or manage any housing properties. We're not housing developers, nor are we land use planners, and this sort of project would be outside of the scope of our expertise as a housing finance agency.
The committee will now hold a work session to determine if the bill will be voted out of committee or held over for when the second legislative session begins in January. At the State House, I'm Corey Bouchard for ABC 7 and Fox 22 News.
Interesting proposal. We'll have to wait and see what happens there.
I know, right? It's an uphill battle.
Yeah.
Okay, the time now is 8:09. Coming up next on Good Morning Maine, union workers in Bangor are speaking out after being left out of a plan to give city workers additional time off. We'll hear their concerns.
But first, another check of that weather forecast. A beautiful day ahead today. Mostly sunny skies with highs near 57 degrees. All our dreams are going to come true, Emma.
I know, right?
Partly cloudy with areas of dense fog tonight. Lows dropping down to around 31. Tomorrow, mostly cloudy and breezy with highs near 49. We'll be right back.
Now's the time for a great deal on a new Honda from the Kelley Blue Book Best Value brand. Buy online, reserve from select dealers, or hurry into your local Honda dealer today.
Hammond Lumber Company has been a trusted partner of professional contractors, do-it-yourselfers, and homeowners for generations. It's the level of trust that Hammond Lumber has earned by providing an extensive selection of products and materials from industry-leading suppliers with guidance and support through every stage of any project, including delivery of materials throughout Maine and New Hampshire. Hammond Lumber Company is, has been, and will always be your building project partner.
Why should your new floor come from Carpet One? Because we're passionate about the spaces our neighbors call home. We're part of your community, and we're also part of the world's largest cooperative of independently owned and operated flooring stores. So you can be sure you'll get great selection and outstanding value with every installation. Whether it's carpet, hardwood, tile, or luxury vinyl, our experts take the guesswork out of choosing the right floor. We're your local Carpet One Floor and Home, the one store for your perfect floor.
Now's the time for a great deal on a new Honda from the Kelley Blue Book Best Value brand. Buy online, reserve from select dealers, or hurry into your local Honda dealer today.
Welcome to Truck Country, where sweat becomes fuel, bumpers become bruisers, and pedals become pedestals. Where a future is written, one lap at a time, and burned into history. Welcome to the NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series.
Welcome back, everyone. Following months of debate, the Hancock County Commissioners made a decision yesterday to reject the Sheriff's Office request to obtain a second canine unit. In a 2-to-1 vote, the Commissioners determined the Hancock County Sheriff's Office will have to operate with one canine, except in the event that they hire a deputy who is already a certified canine handler. The Sheriff's Office has had 2 canines since 2022 until the departure of one of their handlers in January. Despite members of the Sheriff's Office stressing the need to replace that canine team, the Commissioners expressed concerns over the Sheriff's Office budget, as well as the cost of sending a deputy away for canine certification amid staffing shortages. Members of the Sheriff's Office say there is already a limited number of canine units around the county, and they're concerned not replacing that second team will compromise the safety of citizens.
Even when we had 2 canines, there were particular instances where a canine was not available, either by our own staffing or by the state police or a local agency. So I can only anticipate that that issue is going to compound with only having 1 canine available here at the Sheriff's Office.
Well, according to Lieutenant Dupuy, since January of 2023, their canine units have responded to 73 incidents around 21 different cities and towns throughout Hancock County. He also says the Sheriff's Office's current canine is set to retire at the end of this year. The county commissioners did not want to comment further following that meeting yesterday.
Union workers in Bangor are pushing back against city officials, saying they were left out of a policy change that gave employees extra time off. Our Alex Schley has the story.
Union President Chris Niles says that in the winter of 2024, Bangor Assistant City Manager Courtney O'Donnell informed the union that the city would be rewriting part of the employee handbook that addresses employees' time off.
She sent us a letter saying that they were rewriting parts of the handbook, and vacation and sick were the ones that they were rewriting, and that they were going to give everybody an extra week of vacation.
But when the union sat down with the city to sign a memorandum of understanding, Niles says they were told the extra vacation week would not apply to union employees because they have a separate contract with the city. With over a year left in their contract, union workers will not receive the extra week, something they say is unfair.
We shouldn't have to negotiate nothing. It should be a citywide policy, because that's what it was told to us when we tried to change it. You know, negotiate more vacation time. And she's like, nope, you're going to have to negotiate it in if you want it.
Bangor City officials declined an interview, but Assistant City Manager Courtney O'Donnell told us in an email, quote, "The city is obligated to follow the collective bargaining agreement that both sides agree to, as well as all applicable state and federal laws, which we are doing. The city remains open to conversations with any bargaining unit that wishes to bring forward a concern or grievance through the appropriate channels." In Bangor, I'm Alex Schley for ABC 7 and Fox 22 News.
The Social Security Administration is making some major changes, which may affect millions of recipients. Starting March 31st, people will not be able to verify their identity over the phone to the Social Security Administration. The SSA says individuals who are unable to verify their identities on the agency's My Social Security online service must visit an office close to them to complete the verification process. The change will impact any Social Security recipients trying to change their direct deposit information. The move intends to limit fraudulent claims. The agency says it loses more than $100 million a year in direct deposit fraud.
All right, the time now is 8:16. After the break, a decades-old Bucksport business is throwing in the towel. We'll hear why they want to close after 45 years.
Plus, a Supreme Court justice appears to call out the president over his recent remarks about impeachment precedent. We'll learn more about that right after the break.
Paramount Paving, Maine's go-to for all your paving and seal coating. Paramount Paving offers commercial and residential paving and seal coating services throughout eastern and central Maine. Give us a call for a free estimate today. Paramount Paving. When it comes to paving, we are Paramount.
Treat yourself to rich Ghirardelli chocolate and luscious caramel. Experience Ghirardelli caramel squares in a bag and a bar. Makes life a bite better.
Derek!
Hey, Mom, I need to lay low for a couple days. There's too much heat on this car.
Too much heat?
I only paid for a Hyundai Tucson.
Ruth! Listen, Jenna, I need to lay low for a few days.
Why?
Deal so right, it almost feels wrong. The Hyundai Getaway Sales Event.
Lease a Hyundai Elantra for $199 a month today. Hurry in.
When Patriot Waste Disposal wants to know the local forecast, they log on to foxbangor.com. Patriot Waste Disposal provides dumpster rental services to eastern and central Maine. Whether you're looking to do a little spring cleaning or are tackling a commercial project, Patriot Waste Disposal has you covered.
Ye Old General, located in Carmel, has everything you could ever need. Whether it be kerosene, regular or ethanol-free gasoline, wood pellets, a fresh cooked pizza, or fried food, they've got you covered. Looking to get a stiff drink after work? Ye Old General is an agency liquor store with a great selection of alcohol. Ye Old General can help with your next home project, carrying carpentry supplies from hammers and nails to specialty nuts and bolts. They have what you need to get the job done. Stop by Ye Old General today. If you don't think they'll have it, they probably do.
Paramount Paving, Maine's go-to for all your paving and seal coating. Paramount Paving offers commercial and residential paving and seal coating services throughout eastern and central Maine. Give us a call for a free estimate today. Paramount Paving. When it comes to paving, we are Paramount.
For decades now, folks driving through Main Street in Bucksport have stopped at McLeod's restaurant for fresh seafood and some homemade pies.
But after 45 years, the owner and his family have decided it's time to hang up their aprons. Our Grace Blanchard shares their story.
The owner of a longtime landmark restaurant in Bucksport announced this week they are closing after more than 4 decades.
It's been a home, not just to my family, but just to generations of families that have come here throughout the years.
George McLeod and his wife Catherine opened the McLeod's restaurant in June of 1980 with a humble beginning.
We had 2 household ranges in the kitchen and a rickety cooler.
I used to washed dishes, started doing that when I was probably, 12, 13 years old.
Over the years, it's been a family business, with McLeod's son Connor working as the general manager for the last decade.
It's honestly been an honor, work so closely with my dad and bounce ideas off of each other.
The restaurant quickly gained a reputation for serving strictly fresh seafood and inventive home-style recipes. After the COVID-19 pandemic, they went from serving lunch and dinner 6 days to just dinner 4 days a week.
We have so many people we're turning away at the door, not being open 7 days a week. So, the place needs a recommitment from somebody who wants to come in here and do what we did.
Local business owners say Main Street won't be the same without the McLeod family.
Being on the street and sharing the same, it's been a long time, and I just thought he'd be here forever.
They attribute their success and longevity to the support from their loyal customers and employees, and hope to see someone else take over what they started.
The kind of love and appreciation that we got from the town, it's all worth it.
In Bucksport, Grace Blanchard, ABC 7 and Fox 22 News.
All good things must come to an end. Happy for him, though. The restaurant says it'll be closing on April 1st. So get on in there and get yourself some fresh seafood before then.
I wonder if they're going to pass along those pie recipes.
I don't know. I hear their pies are great.
I
haven't
know.
had them myself, but
I know, that's what I hear too. Well, we'll have to find out. All right, right after the break, we'll, it's time to look at the forecast. We're not time to have a break.
Here's Devin with our forecast.
I'm out of words. No more words.
Alrighty, Craig and Emma, thank you very much. On this Wednesday, we have a flood warning north of Bangor, and that will last through this morning at around 9:45 a.m. or so. We also have small crowd advisories that have been extended until 8 o'clock Thursday evening. Wave heights continue to remain active. So let's check on the wave heights right now. Check this out, at around 3 to 4 feet according to the buoys. Anywhere you see these lighter colors showing some of the higher surf that has been observed, other areas at around 9 feet further out towards sea. Otherwise on land, only Bar Harbor dealing with a little bit of fog this morning, or at least some kind of reduced visibility, but otherwise everyone else looking pretty good as we start things off. Now it's pretty clear this morning, and all the clouds or either over the ocean or even some clouds up in parts of Canada. We're in a good middle as we're going to be seeing a good amount of sunshine, maybe a few passing clouds today. There's that activity over the ocean, more activity across parts of Canada, and a winter storm developing across parts of the Central Plains and the Midwest this morning. But for us, lots of sunshine, a few passing clouds on the way for us today. Coming up tonight will be partly cloudy. Areas of dense fog will be on the way, so travel may be a bit difficult as we head towards Thursday morning. And then once we head towards Thursday night and a Friday, some light rain showers will be on the way, and then we'll be watching for that main system that will be approaching throughout the day for your Friday, with the main line of rain showers on the way as we head towards Friday afternoon or so. By Friday night, transitioning to a little bit of snow with colder air on the way, and it gets out of here pretty quickly. By early Saturday morning, it will be out of our hair. But otherwise, again, the wind's not a big issue for it today, maybe a quick gust up to 15 miles per hour. And that's about it. Maybe some more gusts up to 10 and 15 miles per hour tonight. Then once we head towards tomorrow, gusty winds up to 15 to even 20 miles per hour cannot be ruled out. So for today, not too bad. Upper 50s, a warm one out there, mostly sunny. Southeast wind getting up to about 5 miles per hour. Later on tonight, partly cloudy, areas of dense fog, lows in the low 30s. South wind getting up to around 5 miles per hour or so. Tomorrow, mostly cloudy and breezy. First day of spring with highs in the upper 40s. And that south wind getting up to around 20 miles per hour. Alrighty, let's check out your extended forecast. Rain moving in Friday with highs in the mid-40s. Mid-50s again for your Saturday under a partly cloudy sky. Mostly sunny Sunday with highs in the upper 30s.
Hi, I'm Dave from PDQ Door. We pride ourselves on our honesty and integrity. We'll always give you the best garage door repairs at a real price. Had your doors installed by another company? That's okay. Our experienced team is available to service all brands and models. Visit us at pdqdoor.com.
All across our state, American-made clean energy has created over 2,400 good-paying jobs while lowering energy costs for Mainers. Farmers across the state are earning millions in income through long-term land leases from clean energy projects. Homegrown power from wind and solar are driving American energy dominance and powering our future. Maine wins with clean energy. Call Senator Collins and thank her for supporting an all-of-the-above energy strategy that creates jobs in our state.
Touches of black. They say a lot without having to say much. They stand for elegance, refinement, and prestige. Even a little can go a long way. And though they're darker than the darkest night, they make you see everything in a new light. Get 1.9% APR for up to 60 months on the purchase of select new 2025 Sportage and 2025 Sorrento models.
Get moving this spring with comfortable, functional footwear from Comfort Shoes and More. From tailored fittings to shoe modifications and custom orthotics, their team of experts are trained in podorthics and will help you find the perfect fit. From running to walking, casual or dress, you'll find today's top brands: Hoka, Brooks, Keen, Ariat, Merrill, and more. Don't let your feet hold you back from doing the things you love. Take the drive to Newport for a sit and fit to find your perfect fit. You and your feet will be glad you did.
There's a lot riding on your garage door. There's never a good time to get stuck in your garage. Hi, I'm Dave from PDQ Door. For emergency service and garage door maintenance, PDQ Door is here to help. Online at pdqdoor.com, where we sell the best and service the rest.
President Donald Trump's latest clashes with federal judges who don't rule in his favor just triggered a rare response from the Chief Justice of the Supreme Court. And Trump is vowing to appeal after a judge slammed the destruction of USAID as unconstitutional. ABC's Nicole D'Antonio has the latest.
This morning, a federal judge has ruled Elon Musk and his team at Doge likely violated the Constitution by dismantling USAID, one of the first agencies to face sweeping job cuts. The judge's ruling requires the administration to restore computer access to USAID employees. But for now, the ruling stops short of reversing the firings.
I guarantee you, we will be appealing it. We have rogue judges that are destroying our country.
In a new interview, the president escalating his fight with the courts, denying that his administration defied an order to stop the deportations of hundreds of alleged Venezuelan gang members. Those flights flew on to El Salvador despite Judge James Boasberg directing them to turn around.
I never did defy a court order.
And you wouldn't in the future?
No, you can't do that. However, we have bad judges. We have very bad judges, and these are judges that shouldn't be allowed.
The Trump administration says the flights had already left U.S. airspace when the judge's ruling came down. Now, Trump is calling for the judge to be impeached. Republicans in Congress say they plan to introduce articles of impeachment against Boasberg and 4 other judges who recently ruled against the president's executive orders. The attacks on judges prompting a rare statement from Supreme Court Chief Justice John Roberts, who warned, quote, "For more than 2 centuries, it has been established that impeachment is not an appropriate response to disagreement concerning a judicial decision." Trump had this reaction to Roberts' statement.
Well, he didn't mention my name in the statement. I just saw it quickly.
Meanwhile, anger over the job cuts spilling over to more town halls held by lawmakers
that are obviously agitated.
Many of the job cuts are still tied up in the courts. New court filings show nearly 25,000 probationary government employees have been fired across 18 agencies, but all of them could be reinstated thanks to a judge's ruling. For now, those workers are left in limbo. Nicole D'Antonio, ABC News, Washington.
On Tuesday morning, President Trump having a high-stakes phone call with Russia's Vladimir Putin in attempts to broker a ceasefire in Ukraine. This peace process will begin with a 30-day pause in attacks on energy infrastructure in Ukraine. As the fighting continues in Russia's Kursk region, Putin has reportedly agreed to stop attacks on Ukraine's energy grid for 30 days, but he has demands of his own before he agrees to any official pause in the fighting. Putin says Ukraine must not mobilize or train soldiers during that time or receive any foreign aid. And in exchange, as a quote, gesture of goodwill, Russia says it will hand over 23 seriously wounded soldiers to Kyiv as soon as today, both sides trading 175 prisoners of war. However, there is some skepticism about Trump working so closely with Putin.
What we want to avoid here at the end is a headline that says Russia wins and America loses.
Well, shortly after the call between Trump and Putin air raid alerts sounded in Kyiv, followed by explosions in that Ukrainian city.
Israel launched airstrikes across the Gaza Strip early Tuesday, killing more than 400 Palestinians in a surprise bombardment that shattered the fragile ceasefire. Massive explosions targeted both Hamas military personnel and civilian infrastructure, killing hundreds. Among the dead are reported to be numerous senior Hamas officials, but most are civilians. And right now, there are indications that Israel could be preparing to enter Gaza on the ground. Evacuation orders were given Monday morning, with the IDF releasing a map for Palestinians to leave the entirety of the Gaza border area. Israeli officials are telling Hamas if they want the offensive to stop, they need to release the remaining hostages. Israel clearly changing their negotiation tactics. The Israeli Security Cabinet will meet on Thursday night to discuss the new offensive in Gaza.
Well, measles infections continue to climb around the U.S., with the highest number of cases in Texas. It comes as doctors warn of potential long-term complications from that disease. Fox News correspondent Madison Scarpino has more.
Just 3 months into the year, measles cases in the U.S. have already topped last year's numbers. According to the CDC, more than 300 infections have been confirmed in at least 15 states, compared to 285 in all of 2024. And public health officials say the numbers could be even higher.
There's a very good chance that there are a lot of people in that community that are down sick with measles but never get the test to document their infection.
So far, 2025 is the 4th worst year for measles in the U.S. since the virus was declared eliminated in 2000. The majority of infections are still concentrated in Texas among unvaccinated children. The state's health department says 36 people have been hospitalized.
It's like a hurricane passing over warm Caribbean waters. As long as there's warm Caribbean waters, in this case, large populations of unvaccinated kids, this epidemic is going to continue.
While measles can typically cause a rash and high fever, doctors warn the virus can also lead to long-term complications, such as a weak immune response. Other issues can develop years later, including a rare form of encephalitis.
This is a progressive degenerative neurological condition. In the rare events where this does occur, this can happen 10 years after the virus infection.
The CDC says people traveling to areas with an outbreak should monitor themselves for 3 weeks for symptoms. In Atlanta, Madison Scarpino, Fox News.
And coming up on the second half of the newscast, Maine Maple Weekend is coming up, so throw a dart at a map of Maine to decide which sugar shack to celebrate at.
We'll hear more about that as Good Morning Maine continues.
At Old Town Redemption Center, we are always ready to help with any fundraisers or bottle drives. We are here to help our community. Like and follow us on Facebook for upcoming weekly holiday giveaways and our monthly $100 drawing.
Or get this low-mileage lease on this 2025 Cadillac XT5 Luxury for around $499 per month. Visit Court Cadillac in Bangor.
At Old Town Redemption Center, we are always ready to help with any fundraisers or bottle drives. We are here to help our community. Like and follow us on Facebook for upcoming weekly holiday giveaways and our monthly $100 drawing.
You're watching Fox 22, Bangor.
Welcome back, everyone. Today is Wednesday, March 19th, 2025. It is also Certified Nurses Day.
This holiday shines a well-deserved spotlight on nurses who have enhanced their knowledge through certification. Not only is it one of the largest professions, but it's also one of the most significant and far-reaching in its impact on society. The complexity of the medical field continues to grow. This day recognizes the men and women who have taken steps to obtain their professional certifications.
Thank goodness for nurses. They really are the backbone of the whole medical field.
They work so hard. When I have to point to a group of people who are incredibly hardworking across the board, it's like, yeah, nurses.
Yeah, I could not do their job.
I know. My friend, she's like, I love my job. I get to work just 3 days a week. And I'm like, yeah, 3 12-hour days a week.
Right, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. Good for them. They deserve a special day in their honor.
Absolutely.
All right, time for history. It was on this day in history back in 1628. The Massachusetts colony was founded by Englishmen. In 1931, Nevada became the first state to legalize gambling with hopes it would lift the state out of the hard times of the Great Depression. 1953, the first Academy Awards were aired on TV, calling it the greatest show on earth.
I thought that was this show.
Yeah, that's our new slogan here, the greatest show on earth. And in 1957, Elvis Presley put down a $1,000 down payment on a home that has become known as Graceland. He purchased the property for a little more than $102,000, becoming one of the best known homes in America. I still want to visit there someday. I think it would just be fascinating to go through there and think about the history that took place on those walls.
They have a setup. They would, like, you can tour.
Yeah.
Yeah.
One of these days I'll get down there.
And in 1977, the final episode of the Mary Tyler Moore Show aired on television. In 1995, basketball great Michael Jordan returned to play for the Chicago Bulls, 17 months after announcing his retirement. And in 2003, the U.S. war with Iraq got underway as coalition bombs began falling on Baghdad. President Bush said it was to free the Iraqi people from dictator Saddam Hussein and to destroy weapons of mass destruction. And in 2013, water-bearing minerals were discovered on Mars by NASA's Curiosity rover.
Today's birthdays include actor Bruce Willis, who is 70 years old today. Pro football coach Andy Reid is 67, fresh off that. Well, he lost this year, won last year, though, in the Super Bowl. And actress Glenn Close is 78 years old today, still out there making movies. I remember the time she came to Maine to film. I don't remember the name of it, but it was down in the Unity area, and they used the old Moosehead Lake Railroad as part of the set down there.
Cool.
So, yeah, very, very talented actress.
Busier than ever.
Yeah.
All right, hey, let's move on, though. It looks like it's going to be a beautiful day, and spring officially starts tomorrow.
Get out and enjoy the sun.
Here's Devin Biggs with that forecast.
Hey, Craig and Emma, thank you very much. Happy Wednesday. We do have low temperatures that have not been too bad this morning. 30s across parts of Washington County, and same with Rockland. Most other spots have fallen into the 20s this morning. Otherwise, a tiny area north of Bangor under a flood warning that will expire later on this morning. Small craft advisory also up until 8 o'clock Thursday evening. It has been extended again as wave heights continue to remain active. Small areas under some fog this morning near Bar Harbor, down to under 2 miles, but everyone else looking pretty good as we do start things off. Otherwise, again, radar and satellite rather quiet out there. It will be a very nice day, very spring-like today with a lot of sunshine and temperatures in the 50s. Let's zoom things out. There is some activity over the Atlantic Ocean and further off towards the north and west. We'll be in that happy middle today as we'll see some clouds further off to the north, but otherwise a lot of sunshine. We'll be watching for clouds and even some fog on the way coming up later on tonight. Otherwise, the winds, maybe a quick gust up to 15 miles per hour today, and that's about it. No issue tonight with the gusty winds at all. Maybe a quick gust up to 15 to 20 miles per hour as we head towards your Thursday. Hourly forecast for the rest of the morning and afternoon period showing temperatures very spring-like, warming up into the upper 50s today with plenty of sunshine, maybe a few passing clouds. Your full 5-day forecast is coming up. Craig and Emma?
Well, here's your friendly reminder that Maine Maple Sunday is this weekend, and it's the perfect time to get out and support your local sugar houses. This is the 42nd year of the Maine Maple Producers Association celebration. According to Jason Lilly, a University of Maine professor who works with sugar bushes and houses all over the state, many of the participating businesses do a lot more than just sell syrup for the weekend. Lilly says it's not uncommon for the sugar houses to put on pancake breakfasts, have hay rides, and show guests the process of making maple syrup.
So there's a lot more as far as just like activities and engagement. At the same time, going directly to your sugar house, just like going to your local farm, is really important to be able to support our local agricultural enterprises.
Maine is the third largest producer of maple syrup in the United States, with participating sugar houses from Eagle Point to Wells. To find a sugar house near you, head over to mainemapleproducers.com. I didn't know we were the third in producing maple syrup in the United States.
I think we're the best, though. It's the best tasting syrup around. And
I
you know,
agree.
a lot of people don't realize they do more than just syrup. You can go buy things like maple butter, which you can spread on your toast. They have like maple sugar, all kinds of different products out there.
Yeah, there's savory stuff as well.
Yeah.
They make it like salty and sweet at the same time.
Yeah.
Williams Family Farm, they've come on the show the past couple years for it, and they have like this maple mixed nuts bag. And
Yeah, sounds good.
Yeah, all sorts of products.
Good thing to get out with the kids, give them something to do on the weekend.
I know that too.
Yeah.
All right, right after the break, Tyler Cruz will have our sports updates.
Don't go away.
At Ellsworth IV Infusion and Wellness, we are here to help you look and feel your best, inside and out. Jumpstart your health journey with medical weight loss and rejuvenate your wellness with nutritional IV infusions. Renew your skin with facials or relax with soothing massage therapy.
Did he lose his shirt?
I've never seen anybody lose their shirt.
Do you think they made him pay triple?
Guess our tactics didn't work today. Who's the law firm?
The law offices of Joe Bornstein.
If you've been injured in an accident, call Joe. The law offices of Joe Bornstein. Maine lawyers working for Maine people.
Tell the insurance company you mean business.
Your local financial partner has a new name, the County Federal Credit Union. And we're inspired by the people we serve, the big dreamers and smart planners, the risk takers and trailblazers. As a lifelong partner offering powerful tools and personal service, we were built for our members. Start a financial relationship that's driven by community and inspired by you. Visit countyfcu.org.
The FlexSteel Spring Semi-Annual Sale is in full bloom, with fresh savings on fabric and leather reclining and stationary furniture, tables, beds, desks, dressers, and more. Furniture that comforts, furniture that endures, all with a blue steel spring at its core. FlexSteel, designed for living, built for life. Save big today during FlexSteel's Spring Semi-Annual Sale.
Dorsey Furniture, open 7 days a week, Route 1A Holden.
At Ellsworth IV Infusion and Wellness, we are here to help you look and feel your best, inside and out. Jumpstart your health journey with medical weight loss and rejuvenate your wellness with nutritional IV infusions. Renew your skin with facials or relax with soothing massage therapy.
All the money, all the pageantry, all the bragging rights. It's the Bassmaster Classic, Saturday and Sunday at noon Eastern on Fox.
More playoff hockey is here this week. Welcome back in, everyone. Thank you for staying with us. It is almost time for Maine fans to make the trip to Boston and turn TD Garden into Alphonse South for the second straight year, as the Black Bears are preparing to take on 9th-ranked Northeastern in the Hockey East semifinals. Our Jack Webb has more.
Everyone's doubting us. Everyone doesn't think we're going to do it, but, you know, it's kind of Maine versus everyone right now, and we're excited.
The Maine Black Bears are headed back to Boston for the Hockey East semifinals.
This is kind of the moment that we've been building for this whole entire season, so I think the excitement's kind of reaching its peak at this point. Like, this is what we've been working for. This is the moment we want. Yeah, I mean, we're ready to get going here, and it's awesome to have the opportunity to play in TD Garden again, but this year we're looking to take care of business.
The Black Bears left no doubt in their quarterfinal matchup with UMass Lowell on Saturday night, downing the Riverhawks by a score 7-1, with goals coming from 7 different players.
Puck's going in at the right time for us, and, you know, it feels good. You know, everyone's getting a touch of the pill. Everyone's, you know, getting on the score sheet. Sully got us going, then Frankie got us going, and then, like you said, momentum's going to carry and give us confidence.
They'll take on the 9-seed Northeastern Thursday night at 7:30, but don't let the Huskies' ranking fool you. They just took down top-seeded Boston College and have had their fair share of success at the Garden.
They've been good all year. Like, they've, for whatever reason, they probably had some injuries, didn't get some results that they wanted to start, but I mean, they're one of the more talented teams in our league.
Maine fell to Boston University in last year's semifinal, which was their first trip back in over a decade. One thing they learned for sure, Black Bear Nation is ready to turn the Garden and to Alphonse South.
I'll always remember standing on the goal line, getting ready for the game, and we're in Boston playing against Boston University, and they're playing like a BU hype video on the screen, and the main fans are just booing, just taking over the Garden. I thought it was awesome. It was inspirational. It got me fired up to play, and I'm expecting the same thing this year.
From Orono, Jack Webb, ABC 7, Fox 22 Sports.
Thank you for that, Jack. Yeah, like you said, one of my favorite things about going to the Garden to cover the semifinals last year was just that blue wave of Maine fans in the area, and it looks like it will be that way again. Once again, the greatest bar in Boston, right across the street from the TD Garden, will host a pregame event for Maine fans starting at 5 p.m. The Alumni Association and the M Club are putting it on. The Pep Band and Bananas and the Naked Five will all be there again, just like last year. And back up this way, if you can't make it down, Orono Brewing Company in Orono, Buffalo Wild Wings in Bangor, and Sea Dog Brewing Company in Bangor are each hosting watch parties when Maine takes on Northeastern at 7:30 p.m. Moving on to some basketball now. March Madness getting going on Tuesday night with the first 2 of the first 4 games in Dayton. And also on Tuesday, the Associated Press announcing the Division I All-American selections. And to no one's surprise, this guy, Duke freshman star and Newport native Cooper Flagg, seeing his name on those lists. Flagg is a first-team All-American selection. He lit it up for the Blue Devils in his freshman season. Duke is the second-ranked team in the country right now. They are also the 1 seed in the East region of the NCAA tournament, and Coop led the team in points, rebounds, assists, blocks, steals, you name it. He averaged 18.9 points per game with 7.5 rebounds and just over 4 assists in 32 games played. He's a top candidate for the Naismith Player of the Year award, and Duke is also one of the favorites to win the NCAA tournament. We'll be following along all March and wishing him the best. All right, staying on the court now, big night in Brewer on Tuesday, their annual Unified Basketball Fill the Gym Night. What's usually a rivalry between the Bangor Rams and the Brewer Witches turns into a really fun night for everyone involved. The community shows out for the final unified game of the year for each team. The Witches finished the game on top 69-64, but both teams left Brewer a winner on Tuesday.
I think it's a really great opportunity. Our school is really inclusive, and this really helps bring all of our players and kids together and the community.
So I started last year, and it was like one of the greatest experiences in my life. Like the guys, the girls, like the experience is just it's amazing.
I did not let myself down right there, but tell you what, it was awesome. I had fun today. It was awesome.
All right, seems awesome. We will have much more on this story on Wednesday evening starting at 6. Let's stay with some basketball now. The Boston Celtics in action as well on Tuesday, taking on the Brooklyn Nets. Boston hosting the Nets after beating them in Brooklyn on Saturday. No Jason Tatum or Jaylen Brown. We're going to pick it up in the second half. Sees down 2. Derek White takes it to the hole, and he banks it home. That ties the game up at 52 apiece. Later in the third, D'Angelo Russell finds Zaire Williams in the corner. He gets a step open for 3, and he hits it. But then it was Baylor Shireman time. Good ball movement from the Celtics. The first-round pick out of Creighton knocks down the corner 3 to put Boston up 1. Next play comes up with the loose ball, and here he is, just bangs home a fast break triple. That's a heat check, and he gets the friendly roll. Celtics up 4. Home crowd is loving it. So is Baylor. To the fourth now. Why not? Keep pulling it. Shireman finishes with 20 points off the bench, 6 threes. The Celtics win 104-96. All right, great showing from the rookie right there. That is all the time we have for sports. We'll be right back after the break.
I can't believe it.
Did you hear who won?
Our sister works with the guy.
I heard they're from Brunswick.
Tri-State Megabucks is our local game where jackpots start at $1 million. And now drawings are on Monday, Wednesday, and Saturday. Even if you don't win, you might know somebody who did, because locals win here.
My boyfriend's father's cousin said they live in his neighborhood.
Roto-Rooter has served the greater Bangor area and beyond for 35 years, offering plumbing, hydrojetting, snaking, descaling, video inspection, and grease interceptor cleaning services. For all your residential and commercial clogs, call Roto-Rooter today, 990-1234.
And away go troubles down the drain. Roto-Rooter.
Hey, Mom, I need to lay low for a couple days. There's too much heat on this car.
Too much heat?
I only paid for a Hyundai Tucson.
Ruth! Listen, Jenna, I need to lay low for a few days.
Why?
Deal so right, it almost feels wrong. The Hyundai Getaway Sales Event. Lease an all-wheel drive Hyundai Tucson for $259 a month today.
It's Grand Ole Opry night.
Fox tonight, the clues are kicking.
That picture of Ken's bicep does help.
All new Masked Singer. Then
You got to step up your game.
when girl power goes next level,
Come get me.
prepare to be left
Back race. Lime. Ravioli.
speechless.
Clothesline. 1Z. Wait.
What did we just witness?
The floor's all new after the Masked Singer tonight on Fox.
Two NASA astronauts returned home after what was supposed to be an 8-day mission unexpectedly turned into more than a 9-month mission in space.
ABC's Nicole D'Antonio is in Washington with details on their long-awaited return.
This morning, a safe return home for two NASA astronauts who splashed down off Florida's Gulf Coast after an extended mission in space.
And splashdown, Crew 9 back on Earth.
NASA's Mission Control in Houston erupting in cheers at this moment as the SpaceX Dragon capsule arrived home with astronauts Sunny Williams and Butch Wilmore safely on board. A recovery team pulling the capsule onto a recovery ship.
We're overjoyed. I watched every crew member come out of the vehicle today. Post-landing, it was great to watch Nick, Sunny, Butch, and Alexander come out of Dragon and smile and wave as they came out of the vehicle.
The astronauts had been on the International Space Station since last summer after an 8-day stopover stretched into a nearly 9-month mission. Wilmore rejected the idea that they needed to be rescued.
There's many ways to characterize it. Stranded, I don't think, is one of them because we're on the space station. Stuck is not one of them because we're on the space station. Now, had we not made it to the space station, there would have been many adjectives that you could have characterized this by.
NASA said in an emergency scenario, they could have used one of their spacecrafts docked to the station, but were waiting for another crew to relieve them. Wilmore, who has 2 daughters, one in college and another in high school, talked about the toll of being away for so long.
I'm going to miss most of her senior year in high school.
Meanwhile, Williams broke the female record for most time on spacewalks, 62 hours and 6 minutes. Her family filled with pride.
I'm very proud of her for being such a role model.
I think she's inspired a lot of young girls all over the world. I think she's touched a lot of people.
Now, along with Williams and Wilmore, the capsule was also carrying another astronaut and a Russian cosmonaut who took the spacecraft to the International Space Station in September. Nicole D'Antonio, ABC News, Washington.
I bet they're very, very happy to be home. Imagine they're going to go get some of the things they haven't been able to get up there, like a nice pizza or some tacos or something.
A cheeseburger.
That's what I would be doing, you know?
Yeah, I know. Yeah. I hope they earned plenty of overtime.
Right.
9 months when you thought it was just going to be like 8 days or whatever.
Yeah, I think they deserve a vacation.
You deserve a few.
Yeah.
Yeah, good for them, good for them. All right, now let's get one final look at that 5-day forecast with Devin Biggs.
Alrighty, Craig and Emma, thank you very much. On this Wednesday, we have a flood warning north of Bangor, and that will last through this morning at around 9:45 a.m. or so. We also have small crowd advisories that have been extended until 8 o'clock Thursday evening. Wave heights continue to remain active, so let's check on the wave heights right now. Check this out, at around 3 to 4 feet according to the buoys. Anywhere you see these lighter colors showing some of the higher surf that has been observed, other areas at around 9 feet further out towards sea. Otherwise on land, only Bar Harbor dealing with a little bit of fog this morning, or at least some kind of reduced visibility, but otherwise everyone else looking pretty good as we start things off. Now it's pretty clear this morning, and all the clouds are either over the ocean or even some clouds up in parts of Canada. We're in a good middle as we're going to be seeing a good amount of sunshine, maybe a few passing clouds today. There's that activity over the ocean, more activity across parts of Canada, and a winter storm developing across parts of the Central Plains and the Midwest this morning. But for us, lots of sunshine, a few passing clouds on the way for us today. Coming up tonight will be partly cloudy. Areas of dense fog will be on the way, so travel may be a bit difficult as we head towards towards Thursday morning. And then once we head towards Thursday night into Friday, some light rain showers will be on the way, and then we'll be watching for that main system that will be approaching throughout the day for your Friday, with the main line of rain showers on the way as we head towards Friday afternoon or so. By Friday night, transitioning to a little bit of snow with colder air on the way. Then it gets out of here pretty quickly. By early Saturday morning, it will be out of our hair. But otherwise, again, the wind's not a big issue for today. Maybe a quick gust up to 15 miles per hour. And that's about it. Maybe some more gusts up to 10 to 15 miles per hour tonight. Then once we head towards tomorrow, gusty winds up to 15 to even 20 miles per hour cannot be ruled out. So for today, not too bad. Upper 50s, a warm one out there, mostly sunny. Southeast wind getting up to about 5 miles per hour. Later on tonight, partly cloudy, areas of dense fog, lows in the low 30s. South wind getting up to around 5 miles per hour or so. Tomorrow, mostly cloudy and breezy. First day of spring with highs in the upper 40s, and that south wind getting up to around 20 miles per hour. Alrighty, let's check out your extended forecast. Rain moving in Friday with highs in the mid-40s, mid-50s again for your Saturday under a partly cloudy sky. Mostly sunny Sunday with highs in the upper 30s.
The Silverado Trail Boss. And a little work. And a little play. And a truck that says no to nothing. And Chevrolet.
During Chevy Truck Month, well-qualified buyers get 2.9% APR for 72 months when you finance with GM Financial. Or get $4,350 total value. Plus, current Chevy owners can get an additional $4,000 total cash allowance when you trade in an eligible vehicle.
So the Ellington has this stunning double pedestal base, nailhead detailing, and a removable leaf for just $12.99.
This looks just like the one we saw at the other store.
Only theirs is on sale. Wait, no, it's off sale. No, it's on sale. Off sale. On sale. Off sale.
Bob's is still hundreds less.
We don't do phony sales, just the everyday low prices you deserve.
When you get our lowest prices every day, there's only one thing to say. Oh, my Bob!
Treat yourself to rich Ghirardelli chocolate and luscious caramel. Experience Ghirardelli caramel squares in a bag and a bar. Makes life a bite better.
Rowell's Garage has been serving customers in the greater Dover-Foxcroft region since 1946. Our goal is not just selling you a vehicle, but also giving you quality service to maintain your vehicle at peak performance. Browse our inventory online or in person. Whether it's a car, truck, or SUV, we can put you in the vehicle that is right for you. Sales, service, and parts. Rowell's Garage. Doing business the right way every day. Up in Smoke Fireworks is family owned with a huge selection including Brothers and Showtime, Time Bandit, and Black Hat brands. We will share our knowledge with you, then go have a blast. Up in Smoke Fireworks, 173 West Main Street, Searsport.
Authorities are calling it a bizarre weapon of choice for a group of thieves in Tennessee. Deputies say the thieves used ball python snakes to steal $400 worth of CBD oil from a Citgo gas station in Madison County. The Madison County Sheriff's Office says 4 thieves entered the gas station. 2 were holding the snakes and placed them near the employee before they made off with the goods. Deputies say they drove off in a small 4-door sedan with temporary license plates and the trunk tied down with bungee cords. Should be pretty easy to find. Anyone with information about the suspects or their thieves' whereabouts are urged to contact the local police down there.
I don't know, man. These guys, this could have actually been a misunderstanding. They could have gone in there and said, hey, look at my cool snake.
Yeah.
And the guy was like, oh, okay, take whatever you want. You know?
I was reading a little bit more about it in another newspaper down there, and it sounds like at first they were kind of showing them the snakes, not in a threatening way, but at some point they said, hey, this is a holdup too. And so I don't know if they said, these snakes are going to bite you unless you give me the CBD or whatever, but I don't know.
I don't know.
Unusual though. Yeah. You don't bring ball pythons to a robbery.
Right. Also very docile looking ball pythons.
Yeah, they won't hurt you.
They were just like expecting that the guy was going to be afraid of snakes.
Yeah.
I think it's so silly. Okay, we are Wait, do we have time for one more? Looks like we do. Okay.
She said, yeah. Let's do it.
Okay. Gambling on March Madness has become commonplace, but one doctor warns of the risks of sports betting. As the games get underway, many people will flock to casinos and sports betting sites to place bets, but gambling can quickly turn from fun to an addiction. Addiction psychiatrist for Cleveland Clinic, Dr. David Stream, says sports betting sites and casinos entice people to keep spending money by using psychological tactics. He says past studies have shown that neurochemicals in the brain are released when certain conditions are met, like a win or a bet. Dr. Stream says young adults may be even more susceptible to addiction because of how popular sports betting has become.
Be careful.
I know, right? All right, it does look like we're now out of time. If you missed anything, head to foxbangor.com.
Have a great day, everyone.
Today on 25 Words or Less, listening to her podcast Meaties is slightly better than silently drinking alone. It's Lace Larrabee. And joining Lace are